Can you talk a little bit about what you've seen in the development of RJ, especially in terms of his protection? Does he look closer to the three-down back to you now?
Yeah, I think, it's a skill set that he has. And I think we always felt confident that he'd be able to do it. And like everything with experience, he gains more confidence, we gain more confidence. And, I think that, that role will increase for him. That trajectory is going up as far as protection. So, I think, we're confident in him. Obviously, we rotate guys in. Tyler plays a lot of third down, and he's up on game day, does a good job. So we want to make sure he gets his reps, and we spread those around. But definitely we feel confident in RJ in that role.
The Raiders are struggling, but to win. Their defense is still playing pretty good. They gave you guys fits. Where did you guys have a tough time doing?
I think we got behind the sticks a lot with penalties. They played the run real well, gave us some different looks that we hadn't seen before. That kind of knocked us off schedule a little bit. But you said it. I think I got a lot of respect for the defensive coordinator. He's always done a really good job, and he's got them playing well. And we told the guys, don't get fooled by the record. This is a good defense. And I think Crosby's the most disruptive defensive player in the NFL. He always is a tough out when you play him. And you're going to get his best effort every game, every play, and he causes a lot of problems. And they've got a lot of other good players, and they're coached well, and they got a good scheme. And they've been playing well all year. And obviously it doesn't show on the record, but defensively this is a good team.
Coach, what are the challenges of playing a team the second time within just a month span?
Yeah, I think, there's certain looks that maybe you really like that you showed them. And so, you need to disguise things. Sean's always big on, you don't want to call a play that they've carded in practice. So just, mixing up your looks and the plays you're calling and trying to keep them off balance a little bit so that they can't hone in on exactly what you're doing. And when they've got a game on you and they've kind of seen how you attacked them the first time, not that it went well, those are always the challenges.
Ingram's made some big plays. Made a couple of against the Washington. What sort of message did you see for you guys, and do you see continuing to
Yeah, I think I think he has a matchup problem. He runs real well. He's really good with the ball in his hands afterwards. And so, I think it's always difficult going into a game plan, and that you may have, a handful of plays that you think he's going to be primary on, or he's going to have a chance at a big play. And, maybe you don't get to the play, it doesn't get called, or you don't get the look you were hoping for where you thought that he would get the ball. And so, we tell us just keep playing. You never know when your opportunity is going to come. On his big play in overtime, that was a menu that Bo checked to a play, and you don't know where the ball's going, and that could go to all five receivers, and the look was such that he got the ball and made the most of his opportunities. So, he made a bunch of, they weren't as big of plays, but they kept the sticks moving in the 2-minute drive at the end of the half, and it was a big contribution. So you're always designing things for your players to try to get them the ball and have them make big plays, and it doesn't always work out. But, in all those kind of unscripted where we were at the ball in the 2-minute or there in overtime, his opportunities came, he made the most of it.
Coach Joe, there's a stat out there that I think Bo is throwing highest percentage of his passes on the move this year than any quarterback in the last 10 years. As a staff, Sean has talked a lot just about, and we don't want to try and overcoach that. Do you guys as a staff try and say, hey, let's coach our receivers instead to, be able to have good spacing and scramble when he gets in those situations? Or is it, do you try and ever kind of rein in Bo, in situations like that?
No, I don't think you want to rein him in. And to your one question, we have certain rules for the receivers when the quarterback's on the move. The play gets broken. To your point, hey, we want to have proper spacing. We don't want two receivers in the same spot. And it's hard to give him, you do this every time because you have to react to the players around you. So we definitely work those scramble rules, and then, you want him to use his instincts. And I think these last 2 games especially, I think, we've talked about it before, like, move when you have to, don't, keep your feet right when you don't have to, and I think he's done a really good job of that. So especially these last 2 games, I thought he's played real well as far as staying in the pocket, keeping your base when the play calls for that, and then moving when you have to, and it's worked out well.
Joe, Sunday's Pearl Harbor Day, what has that day meant to you, over the years?
Yeah, obviously a huge day in world history. A lot of, our soldiers lost their lives that day. And so, it's one of those iconic moments where the country came together and, got ready to fight a world war on 2 fronts. And, it's a special day. You want to remember all the soldiers that sacrificed for us and our country. And, having been in the military, it's always been a special day for me. So.
Final one here, Artie.
With Garrett Bolles being the Walter Payton nominee for you guys, can you tell me what does he mean to your team beyond keeping pass rushers off the bow on the field? What does he mean to this team?
Yeah, he's a guy that's been through a lot and matured a lot, and he's got a good perspective on life. He's got a really good spirit to him. He's a good. You can just tell he's a good human being that wants to do things right and wants to treat people the right way and affect people the right way, and he does a lot in the community. And so it's great when one of your best players is contributing outside of football in that manner. It's an inspiration to everybody, and so both those things are very important: protecting the quarterback and also contributing to the community like he does.
Coach, can you just take us through the decision at the very end of the game when you called timeout to kind of change the look of what you saw, why you changed what you did?
Well, it's very common to kind of use a timeout to kind of get a look for the final play. We knew if they scored, they were going to go for 2. So, calling the timeout and getting the formation tell on what we thought the play was going to be kind of helped us make the next call. You always have calls you save for 2-point plays, especially. Or final game plays, big 3rd downs, big 4th downs. So it was a call we had on the sheet for a couple of weeks, that we knew we can get one free, runner at the quarterback and hopefully make it through the coverage and make a play on the quarterback.
How did you evaluate how you played the other day?
I thought, Mike, we played okay in my opinion. I wasn't totally pleased with our tackling. We missed like 10 tackles for like 45 yards, But the 3rd downs early wasn't very good. We settled down and made some plays, but we can play better. Obviously, after every game we play, we watch the tape and we're honestly, what's good, what's bad. If it's bad, we fix it. If it's good, we celebrate it. So no different there, but we can obviously play better, and we have played better, and I expect us to play better.
You had, even with Pat back, you got game constrained for a series outside, maybe a little bit more for today. Why is it important to sort of keep those guys in your rotation?
Yeah, we've had 4 or 5 guys that stepped in and played good football for us. I think players have to understand if they earn the right to play, they should play some, right? So Aben Strain, Stranad, Jade, they've played good football for us, so why not play those guys? They've earned the right. It keeps guys engaged, and it just makes you a better football team moving forward. So I think it's a good thing if you can play your young guys some, each game, and when it's time to really play, they're ready to play for you. So they've earned it, so they play.
Sean's talked before about your ability, whether at halftime or otherwise, to throw different things at a quarterback. When you're game planning, you almost have to come up with a couple, 3, 4 different types of plans to throw at a guy.
Well, each week is different, obviously, and you want to have, different structures and different looks for your opponents, right? And you're hoping to give them things they haven't practiced. That's my deal in the first 15, to kind of give them the new ideas that we came up with that week, and hopefully they don't adjust to it quickly. But you always have different structures each week. It can be the same coverage or the same pressure, but from a different structure. Into an offense, if one guy moves, it kind of moves their rules around. My background is offensive football, so I remember those days where one guy moves an inch, and it changes everyone's rules. So that hits my mind. Game plan on Wednesdays that just put him there and put him there. It could be the same blitz or same coverage, and it should kind of tweak the offense's rules a little bit. So it's a cat and mouse game. It's a matchup game also. Get my guy on one of their guys who can't block our guy. It's a cat and mouse game that way. But each week we have different structures to kind of give us an advantage with the rush or with the coverage.
When you played him just a couple of weeks ago, is that especially important to mix things up?
Absolutely. We played those guys. It was a short week, so obviously, you couldn't do a lot that week, and we brought some things back that we had in previously. But yes, having some time to really prep for this team, you always want to give them different curveballs early, especially.
How about with Greg Olson, the coordinator, anticipating any changes there? I'm sure you've gone against him a time or two.
He's an experienced guy. Obviously, he's been a good coach for a long time, Mike. Watching the game from last week, some things are very similar and some things aren't. And that's the new NFL, in my opinion. Every week is something new you have to adjust to. So I'm just going to wait and see what he gives us and kind of adjust, accordingly. But he's a good football coach, and their best player is Bowers, obviously, and a runner. So our main thing is to not let Bowers beat us, in any capacity, first, second, or third down. That's our first goal. Stop the run, pressure the quarterback, and that's our keys there. But we'll see what happens. He had his first game last week, and I'm certain he's going to change some things moving forward.
Vance, with the corners you drafted the last couple of years, obviously different parts of the draft, they're all built a little different. What are sort of the common traits, like when you sit down and watch young DBs, where do you start?
I think you're drafting two different type of players. Like, you draft in outside corners, Riley Moss and Abram Terrain. You want a certain height, length, and long speed, movement traits. Absolutely, ball skills, those things. With Jade and J-Mac, nickel type of guys, smart guys with great foot quickness, ball skills, toughness, high football IQ. So I think when you draft defensive backs, it's totally separate from corners to nickels to safeties, and we've drafted well over the last 2 years with corners, and they're all growing and all playing well for us. But it's a premium to have corners and rushers, with our defense and how we play. If we can't rush and cover, we can't play this defense. So drafting one every year, for me, is always premium.
Devon Key is a young player who's really taken advantage of this time on special teams. In your history as a coach, how often is that a pipeline for guys to, get a chance on defense and increase their opportunities?
Devon Key can be a starter for us tomorrow at safety, and I wouldn't lose any sleep over it. He did it last year on multiple occasions for us, but I'm proud of that kid because he's played so well on teams. I mean, he's going to be a Pro Bowl player, in my opinion. But he's played for us on defense. He's played dime. He's played both safeties. And he's playing, man, I have no worries. He's so smart. He is such a mature player. He's on every single day. And I'm proud of him. He's having a great year on teams.
Vance was just up here and called Devon Key a Pro Bowler. There's been a little bit of buzz on social media, teammates trying to get that movement going. I imagine that you're probably in his corner as a guy who deserves some recognition.
Yeah, I would say it's kind of hard to argue against that right now. He's playing at that level. He's playing at a Pro Bowl, All-Pro type of level. He's been a cornerstone for us this entire season, just been the model of consistency, particularly in coverage. I want to say I think he leads the league in special teams tackles. But not only that, I think people probably look at the stats, but his leadership and just his consistency are two things that just jump out to me. But yeah, I'd be on that bandwagon for sure. I think that he's as playing as well as anybody right now in the core teams in the league for sure. Yeah.
They made a change in special teams coordinator after that last game. Things looked pretty similar to you, or how do you kind of go into a game knowing that it's the same team, but maybe played a little bit different?
Yeah, listen, I think that's a great question. Anytime there's a coordinator change in the middle of the season, there's some concern about how much change they're going to have. The guy that took over, Darius Swinton, I've known a long time, a lot of respect for him. He's been a coordinator before. So, listen, you go back and you kind of do a little digging on when he was a coordinator the last time. I don't think anybody in the middle of the season is going to change wholesale. But there's some noticeable differences, on film the last few games. He's got the guys playing really, really hard, really fundamentally sound. But so that's something you try to do a little bit of a deep dive on. It's not one of those games for special teams where you could say, oh, we just played these guys 3 games ago, new staff, some moving parts. So we got our work cut out for us in that regard in terms of preparation. But another veteran coach, and obviously Coach Carroll's been around a long time and always been a part of really good special teams. So I think I think the things that they've really tried to get fundamentally sound these last few weeks and really put an emphasis on those things. But they got their guys playing hard. I mean, it's the same thing we played them last time. We didn't play particularly well last time we played them. We had one really big play, the JL block punt, and that was a game changer. And so I think we've got to be more consistent ourselves and be better in this go around.